Did you know that the Arctic is losing its ice at a mind-blowing rate? We're talking about 12.6% of the ice disappearing per decade. Since 1979, when the US government started taking measurements, Arctic ice has declined by more than 2 million square kilometers. That's almost the same size as Texas and Alaska combined. Satellite measurements are the preferred method of monitoring Arctic sea ice because pictures taken from space can most accurately capture the size of Arctic sea ice cover and its constant fluctuations. Why does this matter? Well, melting ice means rising sea levels, which can lead to flooded cities and displaced communities around the world. Not to mention, it messes with our weather, making storms stronger and winters wilder. But hold on, there's more to this story than just ice melting. We're about to dive into the often heated world of geopolitics. The Arctic is like the Wild West of the 21st century. There's a gold rush for oil, gas, and minerals under that melting ice. New shipping routes are also opening up, making global trade faster and cheaper. So what happens when countries like Russia, the US, Canada, and others start staking their claims to this icy desert? Spoiler alert, things get tense. From territorial disputes to military buildups, the stakes are high and the drama is real. Stick around as we break down the geopolitical chess game of folding in the Arctic. The Arctic region has become a focal point for territorial claims by nations with Arctic coastlines. The primary countries involved in these claims are Russia, Canada, Denmark via Greenland, Norway, and the United States. Each of these nations seeks to expand their sovereignty over portions of the Arctic, driven by the potential economic benefits from natural resources and strategic advantages. Russia is the dominant player in the Arctic. It also has the longest Arctic coastline and the most aggressive territorial claims.
Военно-морскому флоту России! Ура!
Russia argues that the Lomonosov Ridge and the Mendeleev Ridge are extensions of the Siberian continental shelf. This claim, if accepted, would grant Russia exclusive rights to a vast area rich in oil and gas deposits. Canada also has significant interest in the Arctic, particularly in the Northwest Passage, which is becoming increasingly navigable due to melting ice. Canada argues that the Lomonosov Ridge is an extension of its own continental shelf, not Russia's. This claim is a part of Canada's broader strategy to assert sovereignty over the Arctic archipelago and its surrounding waters. Denmark, through its autonomous territory of Greenland, is another key player. Denmark has submitted claims that overlap with both Russian and Canadian claims to the Lomonosov Ridge. Norway bases its claim on the Svalbard archipelago and the adjacent continental shelf areas. Norway's claims are relatively modest compared to those of Russia and Canada, but are nonetheless significant due to the region's potential for oil and gas exploration and fishing rights. The United States has been more reserved in its claims, focusing primarily on the continental shelf extending from Alaska. The US emphasizes freedom of navigation and the strategic importance of the Arctic, particularly in countering Russian advances and ensuring unimpeded access to Arctic sea routes. The Lomonosov Ridge dispute is a major point of contention involving Russia, Canada, and Denmark. All three nations claim that the Lomonosov Ridge is an extension of their respective continental shelves. The Lomonosov Ridge is a major underwater mountain range in the Arctic Ocean. It stretches approximately 1,800 kilometers from the New Siberian Islands in Russia across the North Pole to Canada's Ellesmere Island. This ridge spans across the central Arctic Ocean, making it a highly coveted area due to its potential resource wealth. All these countries are claiming the Lomonosov Ridge due to two critical factors. Number one, potential hydrocarbon resources. The Arctic region is believed to contain significant untapped reserves of oil and natural gas. According to the US Geological Survey, the Arctic holds about 13% of the world's undiscovered oil and 30% of its undiscovered natural gas reserves. Control over the Lomonosov Ridge could give access to these lucrative resources. Number 2. Strategic importance. Control over parts of the Arctic Ocean, including the Lomonosov Ridge, provides strategic military and economic advantages. The melting ice is opening new shipping routes which could shorten global maritime trade routes significantly. Countries are eager to assert their claims to ensure they have influence over these new passages. The United Nations Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf is tasked with evaluating these claims, but the process is complex and slow, often taking years or even decades to resolve. The Beaufort Sea dispute between Canada and the United States centers on a triangular area of the Beaufort Sea north of the Alaska-Yukon border. Both countries assert rights over this area, which is believed to contain significant oil and gas reserves. The dispute remains unresolved, although both nations have expressed a willingness to negotiate a mutually acceptable boundary. The Barents Sea dispute between Norway and Russia was one of the few Arctic disputes to reach a resolution. After decades of negotiation, the two countries signed an agreement in 2010 that delineated their maritime boundary, allowing for the joint exploration and exploitation of the resources in the Barents Sea. The Northwest Passage is another critical area of contention, primarily involving Canada and the United States. Canada claims the Northwest Passage as part of its internal waters, while the United States and other nations consider it an international strait, so it should be allowed for free navigation. Norwegian explorer Roald Amundsen was the first to successfully navigate the Northwest Passage, proving it was possible but extremely difficult under normal ice conditions. During and after World War II, the strategic importance of the Arctic increased. The US and Canada conducted military exercises and established the distant early warning line for defense against potential Soviet attacks, highlighting the passage's strategic value. The dispute intensified when the US oil tanker SS Manhattan traversed the Northwest Passage without seeking Canadian permission in 1969. This prompted Canada to reinforce its claims over the waters. Canada passed the Arctic Waters Pollution Prevention Act in 1970 to assert control over navigation in its Arctic waters. In 1985, the US icebreaker Polar Seas transit through the passage further strained relations. Canada responded by strengthening its legal framework and claims over the Arctic archipelago waters, asserting that these waters are internal, while the US maintained that the passage constitutes an international strait open to free navigation. As the ice recedes and the passage becomes more accessible, this dispute is likely to intensify with significant implications for global shipping and Arctic sovereignty. The Northern Sea Route runs along the Siberian coast and is primarily controlled by Russia. Russia views this route as part of its internal waters and established regulations for its use. However, other nations, including the United States, argue that it should be an international waterway. The Northern Sea Route is strategically significant as it offers a shorter transit between Europe and Asia. It provides an alternative to other routes that are susceptible to blockages such as the Strait of Malacca and the Suez Canal. The Northern Sea Route can also reduce travel time and distance, which can save on fuel, labor, and vessel chartering costs. It's no surprise Russia wants a firm grip on this Arctic region. The Arctic is rapidly transforming from a remote frozen frontier into a geopolitical hotspot. The potential for economic gain and strategic advantages drive the claims by Arctic nations over territory and resources. As the ice melts, these claims become more pressing, leading to overlapping interests and disputes. As the ice melts and previously inaccessible areas open up, Arctic nations are increasingly enhancing their military presence and capabilities in the region. Russia has been the most proactive in expanding its military footprint in the Arctic. Russia's Arctic policy includes the modernization and expansion of its northern fleet, the construction of new military bases, and the refurbishment of old Soviet-era installations. Russia has also increased its number of Arctic trained troops and conducted extensive military exercises in the region. The reopening of airfields and the deployment of advanced missile systems underscore Russia's commitment to securing its Arctic interests. The US military, particularly the Navy and the Coast Guard, has been increasing its presence in Alaska and the surrounding Arctic waters. The US has conducted freedom of navigation operations to assert its rights in the region and has been investing in icebreakers and other Arctic-capable vessels. Additionally, the Pentagon's Arctic strategy emphasizes enhanced cooperation with NATO allies and partners to ensure a stable and secure Arctic. The Canadian Armed Forces also conduct regular patrols and training in the Arctic, and the government has invested in new Arctic patrol ships. Canada also emphasizes the importance of collaboration with indigenous communities to enhance security and sovereignty in the region. The Arctic is increasingly becoming a stage for broader geopolitical rivalries. The United States and NATO allies view Russia's military buildup with concern, while Russia sees NATO's Arctic activities as a threat to its security. Additionally, non-Arctic nations such as China are showing interest in the region, complicating the geopolitical dynamics. China has established research institutes dedicated to polar research, such as the Polar Research Institute of China. The country has conducted multiple scientific expeditions to the Arctic, focusing on climate change, marine biology, and geology. China operates the icebreaker Xiulong, aka Snow Dragon, and launched a new, more advanced icebreaker Xiulong 2 in 2019 to support its polar research activities. China has obtained observer status in the Arctic Council since 2013, allowing it to participate in discussions and decision-making processes related to the Arctic. This move underscores China's interest in having a say in the governance of the region. China has been forging closer ties with Arctic states through various agreements and joint ventures. For example, China and Russia have collaborated on infrastructure projects and energy exploration in the Arctic. China has also engaged with countries like Iceland and Norway on scientific and commercial endeavors. The increased military activity and presence in the Arctic reflect the region's growing strategic importance and the competing interests of Arctic nations. The future of the Arctic is one of increasing geopolitical complexity. As the region becomes more accessible, the stakes will rise, leading to intensified military activity, territorial disputes, and strategic competition. This is the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like to get the algorithm going. Also, add your thoughts in the comment section. I'll be there watching and replying. And lastly, subscribe and turn on notifications, new videos every week.